In this video, we're going to be looking at the email marketing strategy for a brand that is doing over $100 million every single year. If you run an e-commerce brand and you want to increase the conversion rate of the people that are already in your funnel through your emails, then this video is for you. So before we get into the video, just some quick proof that I'm qualified to speak on the topic of growing e-commerce brands. And this is one of our clients the last 90 days, just under $2.5 million in revenue. We help e-commerce brands scale by implementing customer acquisition and customer retention done for you services. On the acquisition side, we're focusing on media buying, ad creative, CRO, landing pages. On the retention side, it's all about LTV strategy, email and SMS marketing, okay? So the brand we're gonna be looking at is Wuffes, and we've gone through this brand on my channel before. They are a 9-figure pet brand. They sell joint supplements for dogs, among other products. And what we're gonna be looking at today is specifically the flow of emails that are coming from their quiz, right? So they have this quiz, they're driving a lot of this traffic from their ads to the quiz. And basically this quiz is, getting you to enter your dog's name. We're gonna see how this plays out in the flows, right? So there's one flow that I'm gonna go through, which is a quiz completion flow. And then there's another flow I'm gonna go through, which is a browse abandonment flow, which is basically when you are browsing and you're looking at specific products and then you abandon, right? You don't actually take an action such as add to cart. So those are the two that we're gonna be going through. I've broken out, I've received all these emails, I've broken them out, put them on this Figma file, and I've highlighted the specific areas of these emails that you can apply for your own brand as well. We're also going to be talking about some additional opportunities that I see within these emails that you could also apply, okay? So let's get straight into it. So if you go through this flow of, go through the quiz, you abandon the quiz, you complete the quiz, whatever it is, you will start getting these emails, right? The first email I receive starts with a personalized subject line because I entered my dog's name as Joe. It says, is Joe suffering? That's the subject line. It's personalized, it's curiosity driven. The open rate is likely going to be very, very high. And on your flows, you want to be aiming for at least a 50% open rate. In the 60s is really good, but you want to be aiming for a 50% at least tracked within your ESP like Klaviyo. The next thing here is, as we get into the email itself, we see that of course it's a branded email, but we get straight into the personalization in the headline, right? There's no image. It's very optimized above the fold. And it says, don't let Joe continue to suffer from joint discomfort. It's a very pain-driven headline, right? And it's gonna work really, really well for pet owners. And as we know you're busy, but one thing that doesn't change is the fact that your pup is suffering from joint discomfort, and Wuffes is the answer. Okay, very, very straight to the point. And then the CTA above the fold, this is really, really important, especially as the first email, because we have high attention from our user, right? So they open this email, we have high attention, and we want to display the problem, solution, and then the call to action, right? Call to action, notice how it's offer driven. Say 58% off today. This takes me straight back to the product page to continue shopping, right? So really, really important here. What we do at Hays in my company, we have this conversion driven email format, and it follows a structure, right? If you do want to include a header image, then we have that structure as well, where we can overlay headline, sub-headline, and button on top of the header image to make everything come into one seamlessly, okay? But that's just really the important thing, is giving the customer the information they need before they need to scroll. By the way, if you're a new viewer here, my name is Jordan Hayes. I actually run a marketing agency where we help e-commerce brands scale their revenue profitably. Now, if you're running an e-commerce brand, you're doing over 100K per month in revenue, and you're facing challenges with scale, maybe your ads or your funnel is not working as well as it used to or should be, or even if it's just a lack of time and resource to put into scaling this part of the business, then that's exactly what we help with. So down below this video, there'll be a link to book a call with me. We'll have a conversation about your business, learn more about the challenges, your objectives, and see if there's a fit for us to work together. Worst case scenario, I can provide some insights as we're seeing with our other clients to help you at your current stage of your business. And as I mentioned, this is for brands who are doing at least 100K per month in revenue and they need help with scaling and obviously want to scale profitably. And in the way in which we help brands scale is we provide services across both customer acquisition and customer retention, done for you services which are completely hands off. We take care of everything for you. And that includes media buying, CRO, landing pages, ad creative, email marketing, SMS marketing, overall growth strategy, lifetime value optimization, all that stuff, okay? So with that said, let's get back to the video. Next here, we have some authority, right? Immediately, then we have the authority recommended by vets, okay? So, health-related products, that authorities are key, right? Doctors, vets, scientists. But even if you don't sell a health-related product, you can still get creative with the authority that you use. So maybe you have influencers, right? Influencers are a means of authority. Maybe you're selling a product for parents and there's a mom of 5 kids who is giving a review. Within the community of moms, that mom with 5 kids is seen as an authority because she has a lot more kids than other people, right? So you can try and get creative with those specifically, but this is just some immediate authority that they're using very, very well. And you can see here that the design of the email, the branding, everything is congruent when I go to the landing page or the product page. So it just creates a very seamless experience, okay? So very good first email. Then what happens is 1 day later, 24 hours later, we get email number 2, and it says, we can't hold Joe's offer for long. Again, personalized subject line, and it's urgency driven, right? Because it's time-based, right? We can't hold the offer for long. So what is this about? I open the email, I see, okay, this is more like the, if you want to include a header, like a hero image, and then include this. Sometimes we'll also overlay these 3 elements, headline, subheadline, and button on top of the image, creating a gradient, which just makes things a little bit more compact. Again, it depends on the image you use and if there's space above the image. But again, we see personalization in the headline and the body this time, right? You came to Wuffes because Joe is struggling with joint discomfort, and we're here to help. It's not too late to help Joe and give them a life back. So that's just some additional personalization. They're going heavy on this. And if you're running a quiz like this where you're gathering the name of either your customer or the dog, like whatever you're selling, it's very, very powerful to use that personalization to your advantage. Use it. CTA above the fold, again, this is checkout now is very action driven, and then you have 90-day money back guarantee as well. They're adding some risk reversal, and the risk reversal continues, results within 90 days guaranteed. So what is really happening here is it's a promise, it's a risk reversal, and then there's proof, okay? So the promise is that the results within 90 days. The risk reversal is that it's guaranteed, right? There's some sort of money back guarantee here. And then also the proof, which really comes in here, which is like a before and after, and how, this dog's life has changed from using the product. Okay, so very, very simple, but very powerful. And notice how it's all like the use of imagery here, because the customers aren't going to read all the text in the email. They're going to skim through it. And we just want to make sure that by skimming, they get the idea, right? And that's really what it is. Button goes back to the product page again, okay? So just 2 emails in this quiz completion flow. I think there's room for more, to be honest. I think you could extend this out over at least 7 days. You could probably add in 1 or 2, maybe even 3 more emails to this. And what you could do here is you could sweeten the deal with the offer. You could introduce more customer stories. You could introduce a background of the brand, if you want to build some more brand trust around the founders. You might also want to include some press logos like Forbes, or any sort of like press logos that you've been featured in. Things like that are also a great way to enhance trust and just get more buy-in from the customer to the brand, okay? So this is the quiz completion flow. I want to go through the browse abandon flow, which is a lot more comprehensive. And this one, as I mentioned, is when we are browsing a product and we decide to leave. We decide to leave the page for whatever reason, we don't add to cart and go through the checkout process. So the first email says, we noticed you had your eye on this, right? A very, very common format of subject line for browse abandon is like, hey, we noticed you were looking at this, we saw you checking us out kind of thing. And it's a little bit curiosity driven, right? Because it has a ... And it's like, okay, they know what I've been browsing. Let's see if, they actually got it right. It's like challenging. Personalization in the headline again. So they're taking the profile. So, if you use Klaviyo, any ESP, whenever customers come into your email marketing ecosystem, Klaviyo is going to create a profile for those customers. And within the profile, what you can do is you connect your quiz software. So let's say you're using something like Octane to build your quizzes. You connect that with Klaviyo as an integration, and then basically it's going to feed properties from Octane into Klaviyo. So as I complete my dog's name here, it's going to feed that as a property into my Klaviyo profile. Let's say, the tag will be something like dog's name X, right? In this case, Joe. And as I continue to answer these questions, all these individual questions, answers are going to be populated within Klaviyo. What that means is that, yeah, you don't just need to highlight the name of the customer, the name of the dog, whatever it is, but you can also get very creative with specifically other questions that they've answered. So does the dog have joint issues? We've obviously gone through this before, but if I just continue to go through this, how old is Joe? Right, we get very important data on our customers, right? So if you're asking your customers about their specific pain points, problems, what have they tried that's failed, all these different things, you can send an email to say, hey, we know that X hasn't worked for you in the past. Here's why our product is different, okay? You can get very, very creative with this, and you can get very, very granular. And the key is, the more personalization, the more granular you can go, the higher impact, the higher conversion rate you'll have, okay? It just requires the work on the back end, and of course, the organization as well, because there's a lot of different variables. But as we can see here, don't miss out on enhancing Joe's joint health and mobility in another 3 weeks. So again, there's a promise here as well. And again, this is important because it's a time, like, you're giving customers an idea of how long this is actually going to take, which I think for any product, like having some sort of deadline in mind is always a good thing to have if you can use it, right? And obviously there's an asterisk here. I can imagine that they're backing this up with some sort of based on independent survey, okay? So yeah, there's obviously, you need to have some data and backup around your claims. You can't just blast claims out there. But yeah, underneath here, dynamic product block, which is very, very common for browser abandoned sequences, where you can insert the product that people were actually searching for. This is obviously a great idea. and of course CTA button as well. You can play around with this, and instead of this hero image, you can have the dynamic product block come up first, then the headline, and then the button. You could play around with it. Something like that, you could just remove this completely and just move everything up above the fold, test it, and see what gives you a better CTR and obviously place order rate. Authority comes next, right, which again is very, very important. We already went through this. Social proof, trusted by over 400,000 pet parents, and then obviously product features. The reason why I haven't pointed out a lot of things that come down later in the email is because honestly, like, customers don't really scroll past halfway through emails. Usually they're just skimming the first half of the email and then deciding if they're going to click, or they're just going to go to the next email in the inbox. So 2 days after email 2, 48 hours later, we get this email. It says, the subject line says, discover the powerful products that will give Joe the best life. Again, personalization. And then this is about breaking down the price objection, right? So of course, price is an objection. This brand has identified that within their customers, and it says enhance joint health from as little as 55 cents per day. So always, if you can break down the price to a per day or per unit amount, it's always helpful. So more personalization here. Discover the powerful products that will help Joe's life and give them the best years yet. And then again, another dynamic block, more social proof. Okay, so with this, before and afters are key, right? If you're selling anything that you can have some sort of before and after, or at least a current state and desired state, it always works. It's classic direct response. You want to include as much of those as possible throughout your funnel. All right. So 2 days later, another 2 days, we receive email number 3. It says, did you know 80% of pups over the age of 5 will develop crippling joint issues, right? So fear-driven subject line. And it's also education of fears. We get into the email. Did you know 80% of pups will develop crippling joint issues? We're educating them on the fact that this is a real problem, it's a real issue. And then what we're introducing is more social proof, right? More customer reviews. And, in the past, we've singled out stories, as we've seen here. Like we've singled out one story of pup parent Stephen, as we've seen here, where, we show like one dog's journey. That's a great way to do it. You can show one customer's journey more in depth. And then in other emails, you can just highlight some specific, customer reviews and more short form, but again, still adding value to the customer. All right. 4 days later. So notice how the time delay has increased as we send more emails. Now we're waiting 4 days. We get this email, right? And this is a sweeten the deal. You have $5 off the best joint health for your pup. And this is an offer-driven subject line. And then we get into sweeten the deal, right? Take $5 off your next order. We show them the offer first, right? This is why they're opening the email. It's what they've came here for. And then we show them the discount code immediately. And then the CTA button is also offer driven, $5 off, 90-day money back guarantee. There's a lot of congruence here. And what I would actually say is, like, under this button, click the button and the code will automatically apply at checkout. You can do that by appending the code to the link where it will automatically apply within the same session. So yeah, just something else I would add in here to improve it. Social proof, again, we are showing images of dogs, more authority, more results, right? Again, this is very like social proof and authority driven, especially with a brand in the health industry where the results are everything, right? Because otherwise, why am I going to purchase? Okay, so they're really hammering that in. 2 days later, right? So notice how it's a short time constraint. We get email 5, and this one is very, very interesting because it's a plain text email, and the personalization and offer in the subject line as well. There's still time to say Joe will join us for $5 off, and personalization throughout the body copy, right? The name appearing multiple times, and then we also have again, this is just like reminder of the offer, right? We have the discount code again. You have click here. And then I would also add the discount code will automatically apply at checkout, just so customers don't have to remember this random, multiple numbers, letters. And plain text emails crush, right? They really, really work. And I would say this brand could actually be using more of them throughout the flow. And yeah, they just look very, 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 very native, right? And they seem like they're coming from a person, not from a brand. You do want to use them sparingly because overusing them is going to reduce their effectiveness, okay? So just be mindful of how often you use them. With our clients, we use them a lot throughout the flows, but we also use them specifically for product launches, for sale events, not as the announcement email, but the follow-up email to say, hey, want to send you a quick note because stock is running low, or there's only 2 days left of our sale. And those emails always have a very, very high CTR, and of course a placed order rate as well. So other opportunities for this brand, and what you could apply to your own brand, is the sender name, right? So here, as you can see, all the emails I received from Wuffes, it's the same sender name, right? It's just a brand. But what I would test is saying, when we send this email, which is the sign off is from Sam, I would say, in the name, Sam from Wuffes, like change it up and to create pattern interrupt. Because if someone hasn't purchased yet and they just see the same name coming up in their inbox, then maybe they're more likely to skim over and say, look, I've already made a decision not to purchase on this brand, and I'm just not going to open that email. I'm just going to ignore them, okay? Or worse yet, they unsubscribe. So we want to create some pattern interrupt, and we want to always increase the curiosity, always keep it alive, and always change it up so that there's we're getting interest from the customer. Other things that we could do is we can add a persona to these emails, right? We could always sign off at the end with someone from the brand, and this is just to add an identity, a face, right? Just so that you're not receiving this from like a faceless brand, but you're actually getting this from an individual, right? And I think a perfect thing for this brand would be like, a vet, signing off from a vet as an authority figure would be like a perfect way to increase trust with every single email, right? And it could be like, your friendly vet or whatever it is, right? And the sign off. So yeah, I think that's just another opportunity. It's something we do for our clients where it fits the brand. I think it would fit this brand perfectly. Okay, so there's something else you might want to consider. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope that this was helpful in terms of seeing how a 9-figure brand applies email marketing to their funnel to increase more of the users that are already going through the funnel, both through quiz completion flows, but also through browser abandonment flow as well. Maybe another video will cover more of the email marketing strategy around campaigns, around other flows, but hopefully this video gives you an idea of how you can start to incorporate some of these elements to improve conversion rates. All right, so that's all for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.